Have you ever stored data in an S3 bucket and wished you could query it without the hassle of loading it into a database first? In this video, I'll walk you through how to use Amazon Athena to run SQL queries directly on your S3 data. No servers, no setup, just fast serverless querying. So let's dive right in. When we click on the financial reports bucket we created, and then we click on the raw financial data folder and go into that folder, we have the financial data set that is sitting there. Now in the S3 bucket, you can't have a preview of the data in an S3 bucket, but you can do that in Athena. Before we get there, in order to query data in Athena, right? So we are going to upload the metadata for this financial data set into AWS Glue. So that will be our next step. So let's go right there. So I'm going to just go back on this step, and I'm just going to search for AWS Glue. Now we see that AWS Glue has popped up, but before we do that, we also have to ensure that we give AWS Glue all the necessary permissions in order to access the data in S3. In Amazon Web Service, you need permissions for everything. You need to assign roles to services or users, and so we can do that making use of the identity and access management service. So let's go there to create the necessary roles. So I'm just going to search for IAM, which stands for identity and access management. I'm going to open this as a new link. We're going to go to roles on the left hand side of the screen, click on roles, and we are going to create a role, and this role is going to be for AWS Glue. So let me just search for Glue. Now it's actually supposed to be a role for S3. So S3, and I'm going to click on next, and here we're going to select the necessary permissions that we want for that role. So we want to have full access to the S3 bucket. Full access. Let me just type S3. Scroll down till we see Amazon S3 full access. This is what we need, so I'm going to click on that. What we also need is full access to Glue, so I'm going to select AWS Glue or just Glue and click on the AWS Glue console full access. So I'm going to select these two and click on next. We need to give the role a name, so let's name it S3 Glue for access. All right, and then create role. Great, so we have a new role created, S3 Glue full access, and so now we can go to our AWS Glue and then dive right in. So I'm just going to search for Glue again. I'm going to click on that. Now in Glue, we need to create a destination folder or a destination repository where metadata from the data that we have uploaded in S3 would sit in AWS Glue. So we are going to go to databases. So on the left hand side of the screen, you can see databases right under data catalog. So I'm going to click on that, and notice that I already have one database created named SalesDB. We are not going to use that. We are going to create a new database. So click on add database, and give it a name. So let's name it financial DB for short. Financial DB. Create a database. Now we're going to go into that database and we are going to try to upload the metadata from the S3 bucket into this database. So we're going to do that making use of AWS Glue's crawler. So you can see add table using crawler. Now I have to note that you can either upload the data manually, but then it's faster to make use of the crawler. So I'd advise we always make use of the crawler. So add table using crawler, we select that option and give the crawler a name. Let's name it financial crawler. So the crawler is basically going to scrape the table of its metadata and upload it right here. So financial crawler. Next. Not yet. Is your data already mapped to Glue tables? Not yet. List of data sources to be scanned. So we are going to add a data source here. So I'm going to click on that. We're going to go to the location of the data, which is in our financial bucket, financial report v1, in the raw financial data folder. I'm just going to select that folder and click on choose. And it's important to take off the last backslash. So note that when the backslash was there was an error, but once I took it out, everything was okay. So it's important to take note of the backslash, which could cause you errors, right? So I'm just going to click on add an S3 data source. And now click on next. And note that they're asking you for the role. So the role that we created in IAM is what we're going to select from this drop down. So I'm going to click on the drop down, scroll through for the role that we created. Now if it didn't appear, then it means that we didn't actually create the role, so we have to do that again. So let's go back to IAM and let's see if we can find that role. That's right, I should have selected. Okay, so let's create a role again. I'm going to click on create role for AWS service, and instead of S3, I'm going to select Glue. Click on next. S3. Full access. And then Glue full access. And then click on next. Role name, let's name it financial role version 2, since the second time we're creating it. Click on create role. Financial role v2 has been created. So we have financial role created there. Now let's go back to this crawler. Let's refresh this. So I guess we have to start this process again. So let's name it financial crawler. Click on next. Add the data source. So I'm just going to select the data source, which is in S3 bucket. So we are going to select the path or the folder that houses the data set that we need. So I'll click on browse, select the bucket, select the folder. Note you don't need to select the actual file, just the folder that houses the file. Click on choose and take out the last backslash you see over here. So I'll take that out. Click on add. Click on next. And in my rows, I'm now going to look for the row we created in IAM, which was financial row V2. So I'm going to select that and then click on next. And it's going to ask me what target database do I want the metadata to sit in. So I'm going to look through the options, and you know we created a database called Financial DB in AWS Glue. So we're going to select that option and then click on next. Leave everything as it is. Review and then create crawler. So we have successfully created a crawler, and now we're going to run that crawler so that it hopefully extracts the metadata from our data set. So this may take some few minutes. Okay, so our crawler has run successfully, and you can see that the status says completed. Right, so now we are done with AWS Glue, and we are going to move on to Athena. So if you're interested in querying the data, let's go to Athena. Right, I'm going to search for AWS Athena. I'm just going to open that. Great. Now, before you do anything, you need to manage the settings and identify the location of where you want the query results in Athena to go to. So in this options, we are going to look at the location of the query results. So I'm going to select the folder that we created in our reports bucket v1. So once I click on report bucket v1, I'm going to click on Athena financial report queries. That's the initial folder we created, and I'm going to choose that and save. Right, then I'm going to go back to Amazon Athena, or the Power Query, the query editor, and you notice that on the left hand side of the screen we have data source, which shows data catalog, and the database has automatically selected Financial DB, although there are other databases. Remember this one, Sales DB, great, but we are working with a Financial DB, so it's already selected. If it's not, you just select it, and right under the tables you can see that they've written the name of the folder, raw financial data folder, right? So if you click on that plus sign or icon beside it, we have a preview of the columns that exist in the table, and also the data types that have been assigned to it as well, right? So this is the first preview of the data, or we can go on to actually query that data in the query pane or canvas provided on the right hand side. So let me just write a query, select all from raw financial data. It's popped up, so I'm just going to select that, and then I'm just going to click on run. Great, so we are querying data in Athena. It's as simple as that. So let's say I want to create a query where I see sales by countries. Select from raw countries. Let me just look at it again. It's country, right? Country, come on, sum of gross sales. Group country. Great, and a query has run. Great, so we realize that we have, a summary right there. If we want to, let's say, query out specific columns in the data set, we can also do that. If we want to see the total count of the data set, it already shows us 688 results here. Let's say we want to see only sales, or let's say the financial history with regards to just a single country, let's say Canada. We can query it like how we would do with regular SQL queries. Select all from raw financial data where country equals Canada. Just run this. Great. And so we have 137 results, and you can tell if I scroll that all the countries are Canada. We can also check, let's say, where the discount band is high, where country is Canada and discount the discount band rate equals high. I'm going to run this. No results. Let's see if it's a spelling issue. Great. So I guess it's a bit case sensitive, but yeah, the queries are running. So basically we have now been able to upload data into an S3 bucket in Amazon Web Service. We have been able to create metadata in AWS Glue, and we have been able to query that data in Amazon Athena, right?